Dear students, my colleagues, and my audience worldwide, this is Dr. Ahmed recording a short video on Whitman, Section 2 of his poem Song of Myself. In Section 2, the basic theme is that how one can connect with the nature in a naked way, not in the sense of bodiless clothes, but in the sense how originally and how creatively one can have an association with nature. That is what on which our writer, our poet, Walt Whitman goes to talk in this section. So for this purpose, in order to suggest all that, he has given us 3-4 ways to do so. Number one way is that we should go for originality. We should not go for filtered kind of things, or we should also try to be as original as possible. And the poetry, secondly, according to him, originates not simply from your imagination, but from your connection with nature. That's the kind of respiration you take in the form of the air or the oxygen into your body, and then you emit it out in the shape of carbon dioxide. It's a very unique scientific way of associating oneself with it. But this is Walt Whitman, and so one can expect anything from him. So that's the second thing. And the third thing he uses, that the kind of literature is just like the perfumes, but those perfumes which are filtered, that he needs to bring to purity with the original one. In this regard, he resembles much with Wordsworth, which he had said that the spontaneous overflow of powerful feeling should be called as poetry, not the filtered one, not the thought about one, but the powerful feeling, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. This is what, through these 3-4 things, he tries to let us know that true poetry will originate only at that time when one is truly and in a very best way attached with nature. And that nature definitely is not the nature of UK, it's the nature of USA, which he's talking about. If we relate it to the first section, there also he had tried to let ourselves know that he is the part of the earth of USA. His parents were born there, his body, his bones, everything is there, and now he really wants to connect with that. Let us see what is in the poem line by line in order to prove all that. Number one line says that houses and rooms are full of perfumes. The shelves are crowded with perfumes. I breathe the fragrance myself and know it and like it. No, bodies have been compared with perfumes, people have been compared with perfumes. So it actually, the word perfume means that there are large number of variety of individuals, and these individuals are possibly living in this world, and therefore the world has got variety of perfumes. And then this individuality is also based not on the body smell, but also it is based on the kind of thinking, the ideology one is possessing, and that is why he says the world is full of perfumes. And in the third way, he says that world is full of literatures, but he says that he needs to have a kind of literature which is the fragrance of himself, and he says that only this much is very good to have, otherwise the world is already full of that. Here these lines remind me of Milton when he was writing his Paradise Lost. He said that people have written about everything, and he wants to tread on a new path which has not been trodden by somebody else. And that's the same thing Whitman is saying, that he doesn't want to believe in already existing perfumes, he wants to go for something original. He says, the distillation would intoxicate me also, but I shall not let it. The atmosphere is not a perfume. It has no taste of the distillation. It is odorless. It is for my mouth forever. I am in love with it. So once again, these 3 lines also go to suggest that he wants to take a different path with which he can walk on the ground, which we can absorb the environment into him. He says that the perfumes are there. The kind of smell of these perfumes can intoxicate him. That means he may also follow the trodden path, but he says that he doesn't want to do so, and for this purpose he says that he would avoid getting intoxicated, and in order to avoid that he needs to go for not the distilled kind of things, not the kind of perfumes, but he wants to go with the thing which is odorless, which doesn't have its own taste. When it goes into you, it takes up your taste. And then he says that he wants to do it because he has always been in love with that. So in this way, the poet is trying to let us know that what kind of poetry he's going to write, that poetry which is embedded within himself and with nature, and the connection is the production of literature or that of poetry which he wants to say. And again, I will go to the bank by the wood and become undisguised naked. I am mad for it to be in contact with me. The smoke of my own breath echoes, ripples, buzzed, whispers, love roots, silk thread, crotch and wine. My respiration. Okay, so in that way, the poet says, what is the best way to do that? The best way, according to him, is to go naked and go close to nature. Now, this also reminds me the poem, the lines written on Tintin Abbey, where Wordsworth goes to address to his sister, an imaginary character, that she should not hide herself from the contact of nature. I mean, the air, the cold air, or the sunlight. Instead, she should let them fall on him because it can make her a different person. So that is why the poet suggests that he should go naked. No, by naked, it doesn't mean actually. Literally speaking, it's possible that without clothes he wants to go. But in fact, idiomatically, it means that he should not approach nature. He should not approach and touch nature in the sense that he's already got one ideology. He says that he will go and touch earth. He will go and touch the environment and the atmosphere in the kind of naked and white slate where anything can be written. So without any preconceived idea, he wants to go to nature, and in order to absorb whatever inside nature. He says that there are so many things, and he says that he will be understanding these things by inhaling nature in himself and then uttering out the smoke of the same thing from outside. In this way, the literature will be found by him. He says this in this way, the literature created by him will be the smoke of his breath. And so he says, the echoes, ripples, burst, whispers, love, roots, silk thread, crotch, and wine. So all these things, 3-4 things he has counted. Number one is the echo, then are the ripples in the water, echo is in the air, buzzed whispers are there, and then love roots are there, and all these things combined together in order to let him know what he wants to have. And all these things he will be absorbing and then putting towards his reader by processing it inside himself in the form of language, in the form of words. He will put it out, and that will be actually the thing which he has got from his surroundings. And then he says, my respiration and inspiration, the beating of my heart, the passing of blood and air through my lungs, the sniff of green leaves and dry leaves, and of the shore and the dark-colored sea rocks and the hay in the barn, the sound of the belched words of my voice loosed to the eddies of the wind, a few light kisses, a few embraces, a reaching in a round of arms, the play of shine and shade on the trees as the supple bobs wag. These lines are really very important with respect to the idea which has been given in the beginning of the lines, that my respiration is my inspiration. So respiration, inhaling of the air and then exhaling of the air. He says, when I do this in the environment of USA, at that time the things which are associated with the land and nature of USA that go inside him, and then he evaporates them out in the form of poetry. So whatever is being inhaled by him from the environment, he says that he will be putting it out. So what a scientific way of talking to the readers, that is, poetry has come from the very nature, from the very surrounding and environment from where he belongs to. He says it is beating of his heart, it's the passing of the blood, and through his lungs it goes, and then ultimately comes out. Entire scientific process that we know how our lungs take in air and oxygen is absorbed by them, and ultimately carbon dioxide is given to them, it comes out. So what is gone inside after getting a little bit of processing comes outside. So that is the way he wants to write the poetry, by taking inspiration from the respiration. And then he counts a number of things which are the best example of the sensuousness of Whitman, that he attaches the senses, the 5 senses rather. For example, he says that the sniff of green leaves, sense of color and seeing, and the dry leaves, and of the shore and dark colored sea rocks, again the colors are there, and hay in the barn, that the thing which he can see and he can touch as well. Sound of the belched words, that is the sense of sound, and my voice loose, the eddies of the wind, a few light kisses, that's sense of touch here, a few embraces, again sense of touch, reaching around of arms. The play of shine, that is seeing, once again seeing sense, and shade on the trees as the supple bobs wag, and that is somehow the kind of, you can say, smell also involved into that. The poet uses the word, the sound of the belched words. That is, poetry is the sound of belched words. Now, you know what is belching? By belching is a kind of word which we use in Urdu in Pakistan, Dakar. And you don't have any control on the Dakar and that of the sneezing as well. So when it comes, you cannot stop it. So it comes naturally, without any cover, without any filter, without any kind of filtration, it comes out. And so it's natural. So he says that all these things he will absorb from nature and give it without any personal, coloring to it. It will be the similar kind of thing which he takes inside, then he goes outside. The word belch goes to explain, and all these words are the best example of the sensuousness of Whitman. He says, have you practiced so long to learn, to read? Have you felt so proud to get at the meaning of the poem? Stop this day and night with me, and you shall possess the region of all the poems. You shall possess the good of the earth and the sun. There are millions of suns left. You shall no longer take things that second and third hand, nor look through the eyes of the dead, nor feed on the practices, on the spectres in the books. You shall not look through my eyes either, nor take things from me, you shall listen to all sides and filter them from your own self. In the end of the section 2, the poet is suggesting that people claim that they can interpret the poems, they can understand the meaning very well. He says it's possible they might have done so, but it's not the case that they are going to find the meaning of his poetry in the same way. He says therefore they need to come close to him, come live with them, and come understand how the poetry is created by him, and only then they will be able to do so. He says pure original hermeneutics are needed to understand his poetry, because nothing is covered. It's all open. In order to understand that, people need to understand how the poetry was created, and if they understand so, they can definitely come to the meaning of the poem. He says, so do not depend on one way of understanding the poem. There are many suns to come, many poems to come, many ways of writing of poetry, many ways of looking at nature, many ways of absorbing nature and then putting towards the lines of poetry, and the poems putting forward towards the reader will be there. So chances are there that instead of depending upon the covered ideological meaning, the poet says just go through the process. The poem has been created by him, and then original meaning will be understood by the people. So the focus is to find out the originality of meaning, the originality through which the line has been created, without any coloring, without any kind of filtration, or without any kind of ideology in the mind of, or any preconceived idea. So in that way, the section 2 goes to highlight the process of creating poetry, quality of the poetry, characteristic of the poetry of Walt Whitman, how it's done so. So in a way it has been explained all that. So dear readers and audience, this was the kind of discussion I wanted to have. Thank you for watching, and if you like it, do not fail to hit the prescribe button. Sorry, it's not subscribe, it is there. Subscribe button and the like button, and ask if a question or suggestion is there. Do write that. I'll try to answer that. So thank you for watching that. Hope to see you in some next video. Keep safe, keep happy, keep peaceful. Okay, bye-bye.